Welcome back to another episode of Criminal Justice Corner, where we give you the real details surrounding the case. And just in case you find yourself in the same situation, we give you potential actionable advice so that you can potentially get yourself out of the same situation. I am your host, Dr. Jennifer Matthews, and I have with me a very special guest, Justin on TikTok. Justin, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself today?
Yeah, and first, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to do this. I am a social media creator, primarily on TikTok, obviously by the name, um, and also children's book author. And that's basically the most of it. I specialize in true crime and current events, and I'm excited to be here and to do this episode with you.
And that's why I think you are the perfect person to help me talk about this case because it is truly pressing in the media right now. Sonia Massey, as we know, her case is highly publicized right now. And so I really want to cover this case in its entirety and just really dive into it in depth. And what really sets this case apart from others, I would say, is that the body cam footage, it tells the story that is indisputable. A lot of times we don't get that with true crime cases. We don't always get the body camera footage. We also ways don't get footage at all. So with this case, the body camera footage sets this case apart. And of course, I'm a body camera expert. So I was like, this is something that I definitely need to cover on the Criminal Justice Corner. So when I say Sonia Massey, we're talking about a case out of Springfield where Sonia Massey called the police asking for help because she was complaining about a potential suspicious person around her home, a potential prowler. And so the police responded. From my understanding, there were two officers that responded. They were Caucasian, both male. And when they got there, they had some conversation back and forth. They were asking her for her ID. They did not find anybody outside her home, thank goodness. But they were asking her for her ID. And some kind of way, she moved from the living room, because she was in the living room at first when I was viewing the footage. And then she was in her kitchen, and she had a pot of water, hot water. And from my understanding, one of the officers, he was afraid that she might throw the hot water on him, and she was saying, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." And so he pulled out his weapon, and of course, if he's pulling out his weapon, then his partner's going to pull out his weapon too, because they both need to be ready. So in that moment, he's telling her, "I will shoot you in the face. Don't throw that hot water. Don't this, don't that." She, in turn, responds with, "I'm sorry," trying to put that water down. She even ducks. In the body camera footage, you can see her duck down because she does not want to be shot. There's a gun pointing at her head, just like he said. She does not want to be shot. She's apologizing. She's sorry. And what does the officer do? He shoots her anyway. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Justin, what is your take on this?
This was really just a senseless act. I mean, she calls them because she feels that she's in danger. So she calls the police. She's not a criminal here. She's not a perpetrator. She's not a suspect. She is the plaintiff, the victim in this case. They come out, like you said, they inspect that there's nothing there. They're inside talking to her, and it makes me almost wonder, again, 911 would have had all of her information. So why do they need to see her ID? Well, I mean, in the body cam footage, they ask her name, and she kind of pauses for a moment, and she goes, you should know your name. Look, you're not in trouble, anything like that. How about you give us your ID? It'll make it easier. I'm guessing they're trying to do that for the report, maybe to make their lives a little bit easier. Yeah. And the reason she moves into the kitchen is because she's got a pot of, like you said, of water on the stove boiling. And the primary officer, the one that shoots her, who is Deputy Sean Grayson, he tells her
former.
Yeah. He tells her to go into the kitchen. He says, "Hey, we don't need a fire while we're here." He tells her to go in. Now, there's 2 officers there. If he was so worried about this, why
Yeah,
couldn't one of them, if they were worried about her, go in there? And the conversation went from 0 to 100 within a matter of seconds.
exactly.
Um, and because what
Exactly.
happens is he starts moving away, and she's like, "What are you?" She looks confused, like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm moving away from that water, or throwing that whatever he said, throwing the water on me." And she's like, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," which it doesn't even sound like she's being that serious. But
Right.
what I think that she means is like, "Yeah, that's not true. I'm not doing that. That's not what's going
Right.
on here." Um,
And she didn't
Disagreeing.
volunteer to go into the kitchen. He sent her in the kitchen. So she
Correct.
wasn't even like hostile, quote unquote. She wasn't even hostile. She wasn't
No.
in a escalated state. She was doing what she was instructed to do.
Yeah, she was
She was
doing what she was
following
supposed to do.
orders.
Yeah.
And
And
and and then it escalated.
yeah, he didn't like her saying that I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, and he was like, you." He added some expletives in there, but he was like, "You better not. I will, shoot you in the expletive face."
Yeah.
Except, you can go. People, you'll be able to see it, but like, if you watch the footage, but there was no reason for that. They had been cordial. They had been, she had been respectable. She had been
The
cooperating. Not
entire time.
Yeah, the entire time. She didn't do anything wrong. She was the one that needed help. And this officer, I mean, to me, the way it escalated, I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth or make assumptions or spread rumors here, but it almost was like he wanted to kill someone
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
there was no reason at all that the the response to possibly having hot water thrown on you, which she gave no indication of, isn't to shoot
None.
somebody in the face. It's to take 3 steps backwards or sideways.
Exactly.
That's towards the
It's not
water.
going to travel that far.
No,
And
it's
you know
not.
what else? If you think about it, hot water is not a deadly weapon.
No. I mean,
It's
boiling water
not a
can
deadly
cause
weapon.
damage, but
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
hot water can definitely cause some skin damage,
Yes,
some burns,
but
but
you will
it's
not
not
lose
deadly.
your life.
No, you're not going to lose your life on unless somebody's like dumping it down your throat or something, which that's not anywhere near going to happen. But also, if you watch it, Sonia's like, what, maybe 130 pounds? You're not like talking about The Rock
Maybe.
throwing
Maybe.
throwing this water. Like she wouldn't have hit
Exactly.
them where they were anyways.
Exactly. Because it was a good distance from where she was to where he was. And like you said, if he'd have took 2 steps back, he wouldn't have even got a sprinkle.
Mm-mm.
No way. No way he would have gotten a sprinkle. But his remedy was to shoot her in the face, not once, not twice, but 3 times to, in his opinion, eliminate the threat. Where in what world does that make any sense? Because I'm confused.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's actually it's enraging. Like
Yeah,
people should be enraged about this.
absolutely. And then on top of that, and I'm a former sheriff, so I'm very in tune with the rules of what you're supposed to do when you have this type of situation. You're supposed to render aid whenever you shoot somebody, whenever they're in distress, things of that nature. His partner says, "Should we try CPR?" What does he say?
No,
Exactly. How could you say that? And
he
then he
said.
goes, "Go ahead."
Yeah. I was like, what he said was basically like he was like, "I'm gonna get my med kit," and he was like, "It's a headshot. There's no, don't waste it. It's a headshot." And ultimately, he ended up helping her. The partner helped
His
her
partner.
while Sean just stood there and did absolutely nothing.
And he also said there was no way I was taking a pot of hot water to the face. So what you're saying in that moment is your actions were justifiable because you could have potentially, quote unquote, gotten a pot of hot water in your face. That's what you're telling everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of all of that, Sean never turned on his body camera until after the shooting. So all of the footage that we are watching is from his partner's body camera. So
Yeah,
what about that?
I find it very convenient.
It's super convenient. And like you said, it's almost like he went there with a motive.
Yeah,
And why? And why?
I mean, we can tiptoe around why if we want to. We can just hit it dead on.
Yeah.
To me it seems racially motivated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many people of color get killed by cops for no other reason?
Countless.
They don't always
In
make the
this day
news.
and age. Yeah,
Yeah,
they do
they
not
don't
always
make the
make the
news.
news. And you know why they don't make the news, Justin? Because there's no body camera footage.
Yeah, well, this
That's
one
why.
does. Well, here, and I don't want to like put the cart before the horse, but what else is also pretty sickening about this is the way. Did you see the interview with the dad yet?
I saw snippets of the interview with Sonia's dad.
So Sonia's dad. So Sonia also has two minor children, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old that she's left
Mhm.
behind. So this individual
It gets more
decides.
tragic. It
Yeah,
gets
it's
more
incredibly
tragic.
tragic. So now,
Yeah.
a young boy and a young girl have lost their mom. A
Yeah.
family, dad has lost, his daughter. I don't
Yes.
know if her mom's still around or not, but regardless, um, they were led to believe, I'm guessing through lies of omission is basically what they just admitted things, but they were led to believe that this prowler broke in and
Yes.
killed Sonia. And then at one point they were also led to believe that she took her own life. But and he even said, the dad even said, if it weren't for this body camera, we still wouldn't know. The police still didn't tell him. He found out from his brother, I believe it was his brother, her brother-in-law, who read it online and told him. That's how he found out how his daughter really died. That's just completely unacceptable on every level.
And that shows the depth of the cover up.
Mm-hmm.
The police were not trying to throw Sean Grayson under the bus. So they were trying to protect him even though he was in the wrong.
Yep.
So it's like, thank you to that partner for doing his job the right way that day, because we don't know if he always turns on his camera, but thank goodness he did that day, because like the dad said, we would not have known what happened to our daughter had it not been
Yeah.
for this body camera footage.
I mean, frankly, I mean, you're the expert, and so I don't know, but it almost feels like when it comes to body camera footage, there should be some sort of precedent set where they can't turn it off, and from the moment they start their shift to the moment they end their shift, till that camera's docked again, that camera's on.
That is not the current
I know it's not.
requirement. Yeah, like it's not the current requirement. The current status of body cameras requirements for police officers, I would say broadly, of course, every department is allowed to make their own rules, but broadly stated, you're supposed to turn on the camera when you are performing a law enforcement activity. So, therefore, when Sean Grayson got the call to report to Sonia Massey's home, he should have activated his camera that minute. The minute they said, "Hey, go to this address for a prowler," he should have activated his camera, and he should not have turned it off until he was released from that scene or a supervisor relieved him saying, "I'm here, I'll take over from here. Go back to the station," or something along those lines. So for him to negate that whole time, that's a large span of time, and for him to turn it on after she's down, he went against policies and procedures of body camera rules. You
Yeah.
see, his partner was recording, so he should have been recording.
Yeah.
Now
He
there
should have
are
recorded.
Exactly. Now, there are some body cameras that activate other body cameras when they're in the vicinity. And clearly those body cameras didn't have that function, but that is the case with a lot of body cameras, newer ones, I should say. I don't know what model they had, but newer ones do allow, let's say if Officer A is recording, then that Officer A camera will activate Officer B's camera. So that I think would be, better, situated for this type of situation, because then we would have gotten the better view.
Yeah, and there is, like you said, toward the end, there's the other view, but it's not on the whole time,
No,
and so you do lose that first handicap because the partner was standing a little bit behind.
exactly. It's kind of
But
worthless at that point.
it is. I mean, in this case, it wasn't, at least because now we know what happened, and they can't
No, I'm
hide
saying
from it.
Sean's point of view.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
saying,
Sean.
Sean's point of view was worthless because it's aftermath. Is what's the point? She's already down. You've done the damage. Now what are we looking at on your camera, Sean? It's
Yeah.
like, thanks for turning it on after the fact. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I just it's really, and before the people who listen to her like, well, but what about this? No, there's no buts in this. If you watch this thing, this woman, Sonia, was not She was not. I think when she answered the door too, she was like, "I love you guys. Like, I love y'all for coming out." Like, she was so sweet.
She
She
was
was so sweet.
grateful,
Yeah,
happy to see them because
yeah,
she called needing
yeah,
assistance. How did
yeah.
this turn to her death?
How
How?
did she turn into some kind of a suspect when she called them? She was clearly not a danger. These two grown men could have
Mhm.
easily taken her down. Like, and why couldn't you use a taser if you really felt like
Exactly.
it?
That's the same thing I said. I'm like, and why wasn't the taser an option considering her distance?
Yeah,
Considering her distance, the taser should have been the first line of defense. She had water. She didn't have a throwing knife. She didn't have a sword. She didn't have rocks. She had water. Water.
that he, water that they told her that Officer Grayson, Sean Grayson, former officer, told her to take off the stove.
She didn't
She
even
would have gone
voluntarily
over
go
there.
do it. She would
Yeah,
have never went over there.
no, she would have waited till they left and probably dealt with it then.
Thank you. So you deemed her following your orders a threat, and
Mhm.
then you killed her for it. So you created your own narrative, and then you killed her. He is right where he belongs behind bars, in my opinion,
With no bond.
with no
My
bond.
no bond.
Yeah,
So, and again, before the whatabouts come through, because you know that they exist,
absolutely.
Um, this happened in Springfield, Illinois, and
Yes.
the
Where
Illinois
I'm a
State Police.
hometown Illinoisan, so yeah.
So this and the Illinois State Police conducted an investigation and found that the use of his deadly force was not justified. The Attorney General's office also looked at it and said it wasn't justified. And I don't know if you've heard this yet, but now they have the Department of Justice involved looking at it to see if they're going to take further action. So now you have it at a federal level. Um, that they're looking at it too. And I mean, who knows where that's going to go? Because sometimes the Department of Justice will take on a case or they won't. But I can tell you too,
Absolutely.
they've got the family's gotten an incredible attorney. They've hired Ben Crump.
Yes, Ben Crump. I think he does phenomenal
He
work.
does. He
He
does.
does, he shows up for his clients, and I think they've got the best attorney for this case. Unfortunately, what
Yeah.
happened to her is inexcusable, but fortunately for her and her family, they got the best attorney that they could have for this case. He will make sure that they get justice for her, and I just applaud them for doing that because this is unexcusable.
Yeah. It really seriously. If anybody, I know you might show something of it later, but when you watch,
Yeah, I'll
go
definitely play
watch
the
it.
video. I'll definitely play the video, so that everybody can see exactly what we're talking about. How she is putting the pot of water down. How she is apologizing, saying, I'm sorry. How she's ducking. She's ducking because what? Because why? He's pointing a gun at her head.
With
That's
oven
what's
mitts on
happening.
too, by the way. She's got
I'm
oven mitts
sorry.
on. She also has oven mitts on, which makes it even harder to throw with oven mitts, but
All of this is happening in the body camera footage, and he still shoots her. Where is the threat here? Where is it? Because I don't see it.
I don't either.
Former law enforcement here, I don't see the threat because they teach you to eliminate the threat. Where was the threat? I didn't see it.
Yeah,
And I've covered a lot of crime cases. I know you've covered a lot of crime cases. You've come across them. Where was the threat?
there wasn't. In
And
my opinion, there wasn't one.
exactly.
This might be. I don't want to downplay anybody else's death, but this might be the most frivolous police death I've ever seen, outside of maybe Tyree Nichols,
Hmm.
because that one he didn't even call them. He was just living his
Walking.
life,
Yeah, that's
walking.
what
But
walking. And I covered
yeah,
that one too. I covered that
yeah,
one too.
I did too. And
Yeah.
but this one is right up there with it. She called for help and they took her like over something they told her to do. It's so like, if when you see this video, if you're watching this and you see this video and you're not enraged and your jaw's not on the floor, there might be something wrong with you, because
Exactly.
it's just
And I stand with them. So justice for Sonia. What did she do to deserve this, Sean Grayson? Explain it. What did she do? He needs to answer for his actions in a court of law. Because
so
nothing made sense to me.
now let me ask you a question, because you might be able to answer this given your background.
Yeah.
He's been charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, and it's
Yes.
one person. And the only thing that I can figure out, people have asked me why. I don't do criminal justice. I'm not an attorney. But I think that logically, is it because he fired 3 shots? Is that why he
I
got the 3 charges?
I would say yes, but there might have been other reasons. Hmm. So 3 counts of first-degree murder that they're saying?
I'll pull it up to double check.
Yeah, I was about to say, let me double check too. Let's see. Because I'm not sure. Why was he charged? Why was he? Let's see.
Oh, here's some new information that just came out. Apparently, he was also at one point discharged from the military.
And they said he's been in 6 different police departments prior to this one.
It says he was discharged from the U.S. Army for misconduct, serious offense,
Whoa.
is what it said. This was back in 2016. Um, he served for 1 year, 9 months, and 19 days. So I don't know what he did, but that's some brand new information that just came out apparently 2 hours ago from the time that
I'm
we're
trying.
doing this right now.
Right. I'm trying to see the 3 counts. I want
So,
to
yeah.
I want to say it might be because of the weapon too. It might be weapons offenses in there.
Well, I think there
Let's-
was weapons in there as well. There's
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking off the top. Let's see. Okay, so it's saying 3. So it's 3 counts of first-degree murder. So it's 3 counts. The counts are first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and then official misconduct. So not 3 counts of just first-degree murder. It's
okay.
3 counts total.
So somebody was reading that wrong. I guess I was reading that wrong, and others
Exactly.
were too.
I'm like, wait, I don't know about that. Yeah.
And I'm like, because I saw it and I was like, I don't know, but he's looking at 45 years to life for
Yep.
murder and 6 to 30 for the battery and 2 to
Yep.
5 for misconduct. And I really hope, and it looks like now that they've been, I hate to say this, but now they've been caught, I guess, I think that I hope that they're going to try to make an example out of him.
Absolutely.
Because this is the type of person that does not need to be out there
At all on the
at
street.
all.
And not only that, if the feds pick this up, it'll be good because then he won't have the opportunity to get out early. Because that's what happens. They'll be like, oh, he's sentenced to 50 years, and next thing you know, he's out in 10. But if it's federal, then he'll have to serve all 50 years. So that would be my hope, that it's picked up by the feds.
And if the Justice Department finds that it was done as a hate crime, then that makes it even worse.
Oh my gosh.
For him.
Yeah. And then they can add that as a charge too. So then it'll be 4 counts.
And that makes
So
it federal.
exactly. So I definitely hope that the Department of Justice gets involved and her family gets the justice that they deserve. That's my thing.
I agree, and I agree with you too in the fact that I think that they have the right attorney for the job. Ben Crump he's a legend, and it comes to this stuff. He spent his whole career representing civil rights cases, and he's really good at what he does.
He is phenomenal. I think he went into the right career path, if nothing else.
That's somebody who ended up where they need to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, he shouldn't have been doing nothing else but getting justice for his clients. He is in the right career field. Now, Justin, whenever we talk about cases on Criminal Justice Corner, we always ask our guests, what are some takeaways that they would give the listeners? So, considering this horrible and tragic case, what do you think would be some good tips for our listeners?
As far as like what they should do if they're in that situation?
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
And it's hard. I know it's hard.
This is kind of a tough one.
Mhm.
I think that when you call an officer out, make sure, because you don't want to start any problems. And you don't want to be deterred. I would say the first thing to take away is this: there are bad officers out there, and those are the ones that make waves. Those are the ones that make news stories. I would say that keep in mind that most police are probably in their job for the right reason. They want to help people, and they're not going to do this. But just in case, don't let them into your house unless you absolutely have to. Make sure you have an ID ready, because even though you see the videos on like you don't have to show them, and that might be true. Is it really worth the argument and getting them irritated and trigger happy over it? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
and just do what they say. And I guess if they ask you to do something else, like, she's sitting on the couch and they ask you to go turn off a pot of water, they ask you to go do something, maybe just say, hey, it's okay. Or if you want to do it, it's okay. Just, as little interaction as you can. But
Yeah.
I would say that the biggest ones, keep in mind that this doesn't set the precedence for all police. Yes, there are police out there that do it, that are like this, and just do what they ask you to do within reason and try to keep them out of your house.
I think that is really good advice. My one takeaway, because again, this is hard, and we're not blaming Sonia in any way.
Mm-mm.
We're not blaming her. We're just trying to give people some advice in case they're in the same or similar situation. My takeaway or advice would be, if possible, try to have someone at the home with you, in your apartment, in your house with you, if you can. Not everybody has loved ones that live nearby. Not everybody has a friend that live nearby. But if you can, try to have somebody with you. That would be my suggestion, because if you have a witness, then the police are less likely to try and escalate the situation because they know what's at stake. So that would be my suggestion. And the second one would be to ask them, are they recording on their body camera? And if they are not, to ask them to record. So those would be my two takeaways, because this was so preventable and it should not have even gotten to this level. So my heart goes out to her family, and I hope that Attorney Ben Crump can get her some justice. Honestly.
Yeah,
What do you say, Justin?
No, I agree. And actually, with what you said, let me give one more tip here. You know what? If
Sure.
you can do it, get your own camera for inside your house.
Absolutely.
That way, if you God forbid end up killed or injured or hurt, have one that they can't necessarily see, but when they're going through your apartment, or you have a family member that knows, they can pull that footage, even if their body, because as you said at the beginning of this, a lot of times these cases happen and there's just no footage. Well,
No
this would be
footage.
footage,
Yeah,
so
they call them nanny cams.
yeah, nanny cams.
The,
Get you some
the
nanny
nanny
cams.
cams.
They're cheap. They're
Mm-hmm.
cheap. And if you and I'm not promoting for a brand here, but I have different ones, but Wise, WYZE, they're really cheap, great quality, and they're like annual fees, like something like $20 a year. So something super
Wow.
cheap.
I'm gonna have to
So
look
like,
into that.
yeah, that's what I've started switching to. Again, I'm not like promoting them because I don't work for them, but I'm just saying that's my personal experience. Um, but yeah, have those for your own protection, because you never know what's going to go down in your house. There's a lot of reasons to have that.
Yeah. Well, Justin, I want to thank you so much for being my special guest today. You were phenomenal, and I knew you were the perfect person to talk about this case with, because you provided some great insight, and you're welcome to come back to Criminal Justice Corner anytime.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It was great being here. I'm glad that we got to do it. I think it was, I don't want to say it was fun, but I mean, it was
No,
definitely enjoyable, but it's a sad case that needs more awareness. And I hope that this is just another step in helping to bring awareness and getting justice for Sonia.
I agree. I agree. And I want to thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time on Criminal Justice Corner. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.